So with no chapter this week, people have been itching to argue about something. And I guess the argument this week, the biggest one actually, is to be or not to be real. Quickly followed by Yamato Funakama, but anyway, to be or not to be real is number one spot this week. Now, if you're one of those people who are wondering why people really want this to be something, take a look at the difference between a jet pistol that we've seen throughout the series and what it was we saw in this chapter in terms of impact. And I really don't know. I think that at this point we don't have a clear indication of whether it is or isn't, although I would like to say that it is. I'd like to say, considering everything, it is. And I think that the only reason it matters is because everyone's excited for it. It's one of those things where it's like, when is he going to show it, against who? And then you also have, ideas of what it could mean if he's showing it against these characters and those characters. So everyone's excited for it, but some people don't want it now. Some people want it now. I want it now. I want it now. I want to see what it's like just a little bit. So I think it is. And why I think it is that, one, it could be that Luffy using Ryou takes up less haki than actually going Gear 4. So it could be that Luffy wanted to end the fight quickly or, do something decisive quickly, so he used it. Which was a rash decision, but it's Luffy. If you ask me why he didn't do it last chapter, I think that Gear 4 is just something which is right off the cuff more explosive. So it's something that is, when he goes into that state, it's a bit more, give me room for my elbows, my elbows, man. Oh, that's what Gear 4 is in that context. While Ryou wouldn't really work in that context. Also, quick side note, I'd like to say that it's not too early to be saying this is Ryou, and it's not too weak, because some people only want it for commanders and above. They think that people below can't use it, but I think that what people are missing is the fact that it's been stated that Ryou is an attack which is, the Beast Pirates are a crew which is very skilled, all the way down to gifters. They're really skilled and really strong. So Tobiropo being able to withstand Ryou and possibly even use Ryou is not out of the question for me. Because last chapter we saw Ulti and Luffy headbutt. And we see the effect of that headbutt is an explosion. The impact is an explosion. More so than this chapter. This chapter was mostly smoke, but an explosion. Last chapter was a full-on, you can even see the mix of black and white, really. But it's an explosion. And I will say that I don't think that is just regular clash of haki, because we've never seen an explosion like this. Even Whitebeard and Roger, when they had their clash, it was more of wind impact. We don't see anything likened to an explosion there. But when Luffy and Ulti headbutt, we see something like an explosion there. Now, recognizing that Ulti got the better of that headbutt, I would venture to say that she is the one who used the Ryou in that context. Because at the end of the day, I have to assume it's real, because it's more explosive than a regular haki clash. And also it's, none of them have any explosive devices, so it has to be something about them. So I'm going to assume it's Ryou in that case. And if someone like Ulti can use Ryou, that means that we should just assume that Tobiropo in general and above can either withstand or even use Ryou. That's why Luffy using Ryou now doesn't seem too early if that's the case. I mean, you can go back, look at it, look at the context, see what you think, but yeah. It could be Tobiropo already have Ryou, and that's why they are where they are. They are not weak by any measure. But moving on, I think that one thing that I've gotten from talking with people is also the fact that he has to be clad in his hand has to have hardening on it. And I don't think that is necessarily the case, because I think that maybe it could be the case. I could be wrong, but maybe it just depends on how good you are, how proficient you are, or how strong you want the attack to be. If you want the attack to be stronger, use hardening. If you want it to be weaker, you don't use hardening. It's that simple. It's maths. We also have cases in the pre-time skip where the admirals used it to block Whitebeard's attack. There was nothing shown there. Of course, hardening wasn't really a thing back then, so there is that argument. We do also have the case of what's his name? No, what's his name? What's her name? Big Mom using it. Although this is anime only, it was not in the manga. So for some of you who don't take the anime seriously, I'm gonna use this anyway. And in that scene, we do see something that seems akin to, Dragon Breath from Sabo, something that goes in and destroys it. It does seem like this Ryou that we've been waiting for. And there's no hardening there. Which is not to say that that applies to Luffy as well, where he's got that mastery over it, but it's to say that he could potentially have that mastery over it, where he can choose whether he wants to harden his fist or not. And so considering the context and considering what it looks like, I think that definitely this explosive look to it could be a feature of this new haki, because we need a definite way in which we can identify it in later on fights. And for now, I'm taking this explosive look as the indication that this is it. Until otherwise revealed, I think that is a good way to go, because it's a good indicator for other characters apart from Luffy who don't always name their attacks. We have a bunch of people who do attacks which are so amazing, but they never name them. Whitebeard and the whole Marineford never named a single attack of his, but he did so many incredible things. So I think that this explosive thing could be an indicator, just like the way we have the vulcanization going black, destroying black, we can have the explosion thing. Besides, the explosive impact is never really used. We have kind of impact that pushes people away, but it's never drawn in the form of an explosion. A perfect example of there never being an explosion is the clash between Roger and Whitebeard, because there was impact there. It did push people away, but it was more of an unseen force or the wind that's pushing people. It wasn't really an explosion. So that's what I'm going to take. Now, as for the panel where Luffy is preparing to gear it up, I don't know about that. I think that's probably just the Gear 2 steam. I don't think it's actually him gathering up the haki. I think it's just the steam from Gear 2. Who knows what it is? Really, I don't know. I don't think it's the haki, the Ryou haki. It's just Gear 2. But I think for me, what's more exciting about this is not whether it really is or whether it really isn't. It's just that thinking that it is makes it exciting to think about how it could be used. Because yes, this is not a named attack. And I have my own issue with named attacks and relying on named attacks for indications of anything, power scaling or whatever. I'll put that in another video. But yes, it's not a named attack. But if it's not a named attack and he's using Ryou like this, that is incredible. Because what does that mean for the strength or even the flashiness or even how cool it would be when he actually uses it in a named attack form? One more thing I should mention, that's because it's not a named attack, it doesn't mean that it's not Ryou. It doesn't mean that he's not using it. He's definitely not. Because at the end of the day, that attack wasn't named anyway. So you can't tell me Luffy never did an attack because it wasn't named. And also, we've seen Luffy use Ryou without naming it. He did against the tree. No one doubted that. He didn't name it. He didn't say this is Ryou, but he used it. We knew it was. No one doubted it. I think it's all perspective. But like I said, I think the explosion is a good indicator until otherwise informed by Oda of what Ryou looks like and what it does not look like. Especially because this does not only apply to Luffy, but everyone else in the series who can use it. And everyone who can use it may not always say the name of their attack. So I think it's just something to keep in mind. But like I said at the start of the video, we don't know. So it's just nice to speculate sometimes that it is. But guys, this is the end of my video. As always, please let me know what you think about this down below. Like the video if you like the video. Do not dislike the video. I do not encourage that. You can just keep moving on to the next one. If you know that you've had a terrible week because you've been arguing this over and over and you just need this to share this video with someone, please feel free to share this. Let the toxicity stop. And as always, guys, thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one.